The Exodus echoes and typological themes run hot and heavy throughout the book of Revelation, and this parallel nature of these two events is given by design. It tells us of the overarching themes at the end of the age, one of which is the deliverance of God's people by the very power of Yahweh, so as to deliver them into heaven. But this is not the only location that the book of Revelation has ties with. Just to name a few, the scroll that John eats in Revelation 10 is reminiscent of Ezekiel's own consumption of a scroll in Ezekiel 3. The beast of the sea in Revelation 13 shares ties to the beasts of Daniel 7. The 144,000 in Revelation 14, appearing on Mount Zion, shares a striking resemblance to Moses on Mount Sinai, particularly in relation to the refraining of sexual relations spoken of as a means of consecration to meet the Lord in Exodus 19:15. And the list goes on. Many of these passages and their ties into the Old Testament have been located due to their very obvious similarities. Others, being a little bit more masked, have had less time in the spotlight. And it is one of these more concealed correlations that I would now like to bring to mind. So the seven churches of the book of Revelation provide a treasure trove of information for the careful student. From the intolerance of Christ informing a counter-narrative to our time of liberalism, to the promises offered to those who overcome, shedding light on the phenomenal destiny that believers share, the seven churches are filled with a richness of theology rarely given so clearly in Scripture. But it is what lays beneath the surface here, however, that has left me awestruck and honestly quite amazed. Within the seven churches, when one examines the contents carefully, a pattern emerges. As I've argued elsewhere, the Bible supports both explicitly and implicitly, through many foreshadows, that God has established a 7,000-year plan. And here, in the seven churches, we see a hint of this very plan, a prefiguring being expressed through the conditions and rebukes, or lack of rebuke, given to them. Here is a table that demonstrates the correlation. Feel free to pause the video to take a closer look. What we bear witness to here is the hand of the master author. Like a beautiful tapestry, most people only see the back of the masterpiece. What appears to be a tangled web of discombobulating incoherency at first, when someone peers at the finished product, they can see the rationale for all the strands of destiny. Each of the churches are associated, in some regard, with the 1,000 years or prophetic day that corresponds to where they find themselves within the larger group of the seven churches. For instance, as demonstrated by the table, the first church, being associated with the first 1,000 years, that is, the first prophetic day, mentions the tree of life, something found at the beginning within the Garden of Eden. The seven churches provide an archetypal demonstration of the overall plan of Yahweh. These churches and the messages within outline the plan of God, because the theme of the book of Revelation is one of completion. There are seven churches because there are 7,000 years given by Yahweh for completion before the eternal state. This is where the ink of the pages of the Bible end, and a new adventure begins.